trying to find the derivative of y equals 4x squared plus 1, and we're going to be using the limit process, which is f of x plus delta x minus f of x all over delta x. So we're going to start by plugging it in to the first one. So we have 4x plus delta x squared plus 1. And then for f of x, we have 4x squared plus 1 all over delta x. So when we factor it all out, we end up with 4x squared plus 8x delta x plus 4 delta x squared plus 1 minus 4x squared minus 1. So here we can cancel negative 1 with positive 1 and negative 4x squared with 4x squared, which leaves us with negative 6x delta x minus 3 delta x squared all over delta x. And here we can continue to cancel out more when we cancel out this delta x with this one. And here we're left with negative 6x minus 3 delta x. And from there, we plug in 0 into delta x, which leaves negative 6x minus 3 times 0, which is negative 6. So the derivative of y equals 4x squared plus 1 is negative 6x. So for problem number 2, we're trying to find the derivative of y equals negative 3x squared plus 4. And for this one, we're going to be using the limit process like we did in the first. So we're going to start by plugging it in, which gives us, for the first one, we're going to plug in delta x plus delta x, which gives us negative 3x plus delta x squared plus 4. And then we have the f of x, which is minus negative 3x squared plus 4 all over delta x. And when we distribute out everything, we end up with negative 3x squared minus 6x delta x minus 3 delta x squared plus 4 plus 3x squared minus 4 all over delta x. So from here we can start canceling out negative 4 with positive 4 and positive 3x squared with negative 3x squared. And from there we bring out whatever remainder, which is negative 6x delta x minus 3 delta x all over delta x. So we can take out another delta x and cancel, which will leave us with negative 6x minus 3 delta x. And since we're trying to find the limit of delta x as it approaches 0, we plug 0 in for delta x, which gives us negative 6x minus 3 times 0, which is negative 6x. So the derivative of this would be negative 6x. For problem number 3, we're going to be finding the derivative of f of x equals negative 4x squared minus 5x minus 2. And like the other problems, we're going to be using the limit process, but this time it's going to be a little bit longer since it's a longer equation. So we're going to apply the same method by plugging x plus delta x in for the x's. So we're going to have negative 4x plus delta x squared minus 5x plus delta x squared minus 2. And then we're going to have the f of x over here, which is minus negative 4x squared plus 5x minus 2. And here we're going to start by squaring the x plus delta x, which gives us x squared plus 2x delta x plus delta x squared. And we're going to do the same for here, which gives us negative 4x squared minus 8x delta x minus 4 delta x squared minus 5x minus 5 delta x minus 2 minus negative 4x squared minus 5x minus 2. But since there's a negative here, we distribute it to the others, which makes this a positive, and a positive, which allows us to cancel the 2, the 5x, and the 4x squared, which leaves us with negative 8x delta x minus 4 delta x squared minus 5 delta x all over delta x. And then we can cancel again by taking out a delta x from here, which leaves us with negative 8x minus 4 delta x minus 5. And since we're finding the limit of delta x as it approaches 0, we plug delta x in with 0. So it turns into negative 8x minus 4 times 0 minus 5, which leaves us with 8x minus 5. So the derivative of this is 8x minus 5. So for problem number 4, we're going to be finding the derivative of f of x equals 3x squared plus 3x plus 3. And we're going to be using the limit process. So we're going to start by putting it in. So we're going to have 3 times x plus delta x squared plus 3 times x plus delta x plus 3 minus the f of x, which is minus parentheses 3x squared plus 3x plus 3 parentheses all over delta x. So we're going to first start by squaring x plus delta x, which will give us x squared plus 2x delta x plus delta x squared. And then we're going to distribute everything so that we end up with 3x squared plus 6x delta x plus 3 delta x squared plus 3x plus 3 delta x plus 3 minus 3x squared plus 3x plus 3. So since there's a minus right here, we distribute it to these, which allows us to cancel the 3x squared with this one, the negative 3x with the positive 3x, and the negative 3 with the positive 3. So we bring whatever's remaining down, which is 6x delta x plus 3 delta x squared plus 3 delta x all over delta x. And we can cancel again when we take out delta x from this, which gives us 6x plus 3 delta x plus 3. And since we're finding the limit of delta x as it approaches 0, we're going to plug 0 in for delta x, which gives us 6x plus 3 times 0 plus 3, which equals to 6x plus 3. So the derivative is 6x plus 3.